Welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic peeps, to my channel, Slime and Slashers, where, yeah, we talk about everything from Nickelodeon slime to horror movie slashers, but plenty of stuff in between, including books. Today's video, it is another book-themed video. It's specifically a video that I don't do very, very often, and that is a book tag video. And this book tag is specifically the Finally Fall book tag. I'm so excited. I was tagged by my great friend, Andrew, from It Came From the Page. So stay right where you are. I will be right back after the short intro, and we will dig into all the fall-themed questions and my answers. Welcome back, guys. Okay, the Finally Fall book tag. Let's go. The first question. This one's pretty easy. I gotta say, all of them I have multiple answers for. Don't kill me. That's just how I answer questions. I just give you multiple answers because I can't make decisions. So bear with me. There will be multiple answers for like every single question. Sorry. Alright, so the first one. In the fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. My first answer is Autumn Crow. Dun, 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 dun. I have to copy Andrew's original answer, so as I said in my intro, Andrew from It Came From the Page is the one that tagged me, and this was his answer for a vivid setting, and I gotta agree, because the setting of this book is the town of Autumn Crow. In Autumn Crow, it is Halloween 24/7, 365, all day, every day. So I gotta say, it's such a great setting. It's described so vividly, so beautifully. It's got the perfect autumn and fall vibes. So this is written by Cameron Chaney, by the way, who is not only an author, but he's also a booktuber, and you could find him at, I squeaked there, he's also a booktuber, you could find him at, without the squeak, at Library Macabre. So check out his channel, he is fantastic, so many great videos, great editing quality, and one of my favorite people on earth, because he's so nice and so sweet, and just a really talented person all around in terms of creating amazing videos, but he can freaking write, trust me. And the setting to this is just a testament to how great of a writer he truly is. As I said, multiple frickin' answers per question. My second choice for a vivid setting is the Cotton Candy Massacre by Christopher Robertson. This had such a great carnival setting, really enjoyed it, thought it was a lot of fun, specifically the description of all the cotton candy and all the chaos that ensues towards the middle and the end of the story. I could really picture that in my head as if I was watching a movie, and it's almost written like it is a movie sometimes. So yeah, I definitely think this has a wonderful vivid setting. And last but not least, another vivid setting, we've got Mayfly by C.J. Lead. This is one of my favorite books of the year, so I'm sorry if you're sick of hearing me talk about it, but I ain't ever gonna stop, baby. I'm never gonna stop talking about it. This book is so good. So we're following Maeve. She lives in LA, and she actually works at one of the Disney parks in LA, and you don't ever hear the word Disney uttered in this book or written in this book. However, it's pretty clear that it is Disney without actually saying the word Disney. So she actually plays a Disney princess. And so she really goes into hardcore descriptions of places around LA, and there's just like an LA vibe about this book. But what makes it even better is that there is a Halloween vibe to this book too. So we get LA vibes, but we also get Halloween-y vibes too. So it definitely has a feeling of place, of certain specific place, and also a feeling of a specific time of year, because she is building up towards her Halloween celebration, and it's approaching Halloween time in this book, and there's lots of discussion of Halloween. Okay, second question. Nature is beautiful, but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written, but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. Here, both of my answers are Ray Bradbury books. The first, Something Wicked This Way Comes. The second, The Halloween Tree. The Halloween Tree has one of the greatest passages ever about this tree that is filled with pumpkins. But ultimately, we are exploring life and death, and there's themes of friendship as well, but specifically near the end, the tone gets very dark. So yes, this is a beautifully written book, but there are darker themes towards the end, even though it is a middle grade read. Another read for younger readers, but this one's actually very hard to read because it's got super poetic language, and sometimes that kind of language can, I almost freaking knocked myself in the head with this book. That kind of language can really turn off some readers, but I personally loved it. I did find that the audiobook did help getting through this, so it's not for everyone. However, it was totally for me. I thought the writing was beautiful, but we are dealing with topics such as, you know, growing up, the idea of facing change, the idea of facing lost youth. So there are some heavy topics dealt with in here, and there's also a very, very creepy carnival in this book too, which I freaking love. It's got ultimate fall vibes. Both of these books, you honestly can't go wrong if you're looking for something that's beautifully written, but just screams autumn time and fall, because these both definitely do that. Third question, fall is back to school season. Share a nonfiction book that taught you something new. My first answer is The Chris Farley Show. This is such a great book. God, this is one of my favorite nonfiction books of all time. We have little interview snippets from all kinds of people throughout Chris Farley's life, his personal life. So we've got people he went to high school with that are interviewed in here. We also have his family members who are interviewed in here, but we also have more famous people, you know, obviously people he met later in life through SNL, through movies, interviewed in here as well. We've got David Spade, we've got a whole bunch of people. And this is such a great book. If you want to learn more about Chris Farley's life, there's a lot more to him than you may think. There is a lot of, like, hidden things that you would just be surprised by. This is such a powerful read. I do believe that there's a documentary that also kind of takes the same concept and puts it in video form, but I like the book much, much better. I did see the documentary. I just think the book, there's times where I laughed out loud, there's times where I literally cried. So if you are a big fan of Chris Farley as an actor and you want to learn more about his life and just all the little nuances in his life, especially little things that you like would be totally blown away and surprised by, I would say pick this up. Such a great read. It's been like over 10 years, maybe even 15 years since I read it. I still think about this book sometimes, and I really got to make time to reread this because it was such a wonderful nonfiction book. Such a heartfelt read, but hard to read at times too, because of course Chris Farley is no longer with us, so it is rather sad when you think about how he's no longer here. But it's great to get to know a little bit more about him and what made him tick back in the day. Alright, and my second answer has to do with the show Pee-wee's Playhouse, which is one of my favorite shows of all time in terms of a kid show that I used to watch and really helped shape who I am currently. The book is called Inside Pee-wee's Playhouse, the untold, unauthorized, and unpredictable story of a pop phenomenon, and it's by Cassine Gaines. I think that's how you say it. I think this book was so fantastic. I read this again also 10 or 15 years ago. Back when I wasn't a reader, I actually only mainly read nonfiction books, so a lot of things pop culture related specifically. So I've read like Gene Wilder's autobiography or biography. I can't remember if he wrote it or someone else wrote it, but basically, you know, about Gene Wilder's life, stuff like that. I have a whole bunch of books like that where it's just like pop culture type of nonfiction books. So this is one of them that I read a long time ago when I wasn't really a reader, but I just wanted to read about certain pop culture things I was passionate about, like Pee-wee's Playhouse. And this is such an interesting story about a group of passionate people led by the late, great Paul Reubens, who tried to do something a little bit different with children's television, and also just with a character and a character development, because Pee-wee was near and dear to Paul Reubens' heart, but at the same time, it also takes a critical look at the show and the behind the scenes of the show, because Paul Reubens was very, very hands-on when it came to Pee-wee's Playhouse. It also took a look at the art production of Pee-wee's Playhouse, which I find fascinating. The art production of the frickin' show is one of the things that means the most to me about the show, is because the style of the show just, I don't know, there was something very compelling about it to me, and I always thought, even when I was a kid, how unique it was. Like, the color scheme, I wanted to have, like, the same exact freaking house when I grew up. I wanted, like, everything to look like Pee-wee's Playhouse on the inside. That's how much I liked the color scheme, and just the artwork and the art style of the show just spoke to me for some reason. So if you want to learn more about that and you're really interested in that, I highly recommend this book. Again, it is unauthorized, so it's kind of like behind the scenes, and there's interview snippets and stuff, but I think it is a little critical sometimes in regards to Paul Reubens, if I remember correctly. But again, it's been over 10 years, maybe longer, since I read it, so I don't exactly remember the details. It's probably time for a reread, but it's definitely a nonfiction book that I have read and enjoyed, and I consider it one of my favorite nonfiction books of all time. Fourth question, in order to keep warm, it's good to spend some time with the people we love. Name a fictional family or household or friend group that you'd like to be a part of. Alright, so first, I'd love to be a friend to the main character of the book Fear by Ronald Kelly. The main character we're following is Jeb. Jeb is the best. I freaking love Jeb. I'm a Jeb mark. It's like a wrestling term for like saying that I'm super obsessed with Jeb as a character. I think he's wonderful. So he's 10 years old, it says on the back of the book. I couldn't remember exactly how old he was, but yes, 10. And he has to deal with such adversity, but he deals with it with such compassion and also with such strength for being so young. So to me, he is such a great, multifaceted character that you could really root for and get behind, and I just wanted to give him a hug because he was going through so much in this book. Not only is there this animal who's attacking different people in the town, but also he's dealing with stuff, some really big, heavy stuff at home too. His dad got in a big, like, wartime accident and can no longer remember. So he doesn't even remember that Jeb is his son. He almost interacts with Jeb as if he's just like a brother or a friend. So imagine how hard that is for Jeb. And also in the book, Jeb has to deal with his grandma who's dealing with this sickness, and it seems to be a pretty serious sickness, and she's the main person who takes care of him, and not only him, but his injured father as well. So this brings up a lot of questions like what's going to happen if grandma can't continue to take care of us, and it's like heavy, heavy shit for such a young person to have to face and deal with. But that made me love Jeb even more because the way he approached all that adversity was just so strong, and I was like, oh my god, I love you, Jeb! He was such an admirable character. I can't say enough great things about Jeb as a character. Really a heartwarming person, and he made this book really, really special in my opinion, him as a character. And the other friend group that I would love to be a part of, kind of, not fully, because some of them may or may not die, is the friend group from Tastes Like Candy. It's a group of teenage girls who are very, very close, but I love that they're not your typical group of young people that you find in a lot of slasher books or slasher movies. Most of the time in a slasher, you've got this group of terrible, terrible teenagers. Usually they're hooligans, but this group, it's studious, awesome girls. They've got humor. It seems like they have a lot of love for each other, and I just really love them, especially the two main characters who are like two best friends here. I just love this group of girls. However, they are put into a very dangerous situation at this abandoned Halloween carnival. And yeah, stuff goes down. So it might not be the best thing to be a part of this friend group. However, I think I would love to know these girls and be a part of their group, but maybe not go into the abandoned carnival with them. Maybe I wouldn't do that. So, but yes, this group of friends, awesome, awesome, awesome. And it is a slow burn of sorts because we do spend a lot of time getting to know the friend group before any slashing takes place. So do be aware if you do pick this up that it takes a little while for things to kick in and get going, but it's worth the wait because the kills are brutal. And because you do get to know the characters, that makes the kills even more effective. And you're just like, no, I don't want them to die. So yeah, wonderful book. Can't say enough great things about this book. I'm always going on about it, and I will never stop. Never. Number 5, the colorful leaves are piling up on the ground. Show us a pile of fall-colored spines. Dun, 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 dun. I do have some black spines on here, but they've got fall writing on the title. So, like Fear, Orangey, Autumn Crow, of course, and that's got like a frickin' pumpkin face on the spine too. The Halloween tree, that's also kind of yellowish orange. But then we have some actual colored spines. We've got some reds, like, you know, you see the reds in the trees and the leaves. This one, you've got some orange and yellow. Got more red, yellow, this Buffy book, which was given to me by Amy McCall. Thank you, Amy. Also, I've got this Free Willy orangey book right here that was given to me by my friend Crystal, and it's one of my favorite freaking, like, gifted books ever. Thank you so much, Crystal. I, like, cried when I got this. Also here, we have a summer-themed Fear Street book, but I do think that this is reminiscent of fall because it's got the yellow and red on the spine, so here's my stack. And it's bothering me that it's crooked at the bottom. Come on. Okay, there we go. I was about to freaking scream. I was like, please get uncrooked. And now at the top it's crooked. Come on. All right, here we go. Nice and straight. Here is the lovely fall-colored stack. And I love it. It's blowing in the wind like leaves in the autumn breeze. Whatevs. Number 6. Fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Share a book wherein somebody is telling a story. You probably knew this book might be mentioned. Boys Life by Robert McCammon, my favorite book of all time. It is a coming-of-age book. It is not a horror book. It is just a wonderful fiction book with some magical realism. I tabbed the hell out of it because I freaking love this book. This book is one of the most beautifully written books I've ever read. I just love this book. I love this book so much. So we are following our narrator, Corey. It's about his life, and he's telling us the story. So just to give you an example, you could tell it's someone telling you a story because it says, I want to tell you some important things before we start. I lived through it all. That's one problem about relating events in first person. The reader knows the narrator didn't get killed, so whatever might happen to me, whatever did happen to me, you can be sure I lived through it all, though I might be a little better or worse for the experience, and you can make up your own mind which. And, you know, then there's some more specifics, but it starts to go into how he believes that we all are born with magic inside of us, and then it slowly fades as we get older. So it's really about growing up. It's about a small town as well, a small town facing some racial tension. It's also got a little murder mystery at the center of this story, which doesn't really play a huge role in the book, because it's really more about everyone in the town, and specifically our main character, Corey. And basically one of his later summers as he's approaching, you know, not being a child anymore, and it's one of those times in life where it's about the transition into adulthood, and it's such a lovely story. I can't recommend it more because it's just, I honestly think it's one of the best books of all time. So here's my answer for, you know, somebody telling you a story, and I think it's a beautiful story. Number 7, the nights are getting darker. Share a dark, creepy read. First up, we have Scanlines by Todd Kessling. I'm covering the cover because it could be triggering for some people, and if you see a cover that could be triggering, you know that the story within is probably pretty dark, and you gotta go in with some trepidation. I just think this story, Scanlines, is so deep and powerful, and I loved it. There is definitely a creepy vibe, a creepy atmosphere to this book. Essentially, there's this urban legend. If you watch this video about a congressman literally committing suicide live on the tape, then you are going to be haunted, and the same fate might happen to you. So essentially that's the main gist. It's a group of friends who find this video and watch it, and they're like, what the hell? They gotta figure out what to do. It is so dark, super dark, more dark than creepy, but I think it's a great read, and I know a lot of people I know, including myself, gave this 5 stars. And my other answer is Book of the Damned by D.A. Fowler. I used to shout out this book all the time, but it's been a little bit since I talked about it on my channel. It feels weird not talking about penis lasers. You're saying, Kelsey, why are you talking about penis lasers? Is this supposed to be the answer for your creepy dark read? Yes, it is creepy and dark. The penis lasers are not part of the creepy darkness, but there is some like light humor and gross out stuff in this too. So there is humor, there is some lightness to it, but there is some deep, creepy darkness to this as well. I think it's got a nice mix, and that's why I always recommend this book to people who are looking for something different and not your typical old school vintage horror book, because this just is so zany, so different, but also I do remind people that at the core of it though, it is a very dark, bleak story. So I warn people, I recommend it, but say, hey, make sure that you really want to read this because it does get rather bleak, and it could be kind of upsetting after you're done reading it and you're like, wow, that was kind of bleak. But yeah, it's got a lot going for it though, because it's got a good mix of things, and the horror is done really, 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 really well. Also, penis lasers. Anyway, forget it. Number 8, the days are getting colder. Brr, brr. It's cold in here. There must be some toros in the atmosphere. I said, brr. All right, I'm gonna stop. That was a quote from from Bring It On, which we watched for Old School April, my readathon and watchathon that's like all about nostalgia. We watched that as a watch party this past April for the watchathon part. One of the watchathon parts. We had lots of watch parties, but yes. Oh, Bring It On. So wonderful. But anyway, back to the question. The days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. First off, we've got The Halloweeners. I think it's super heartwarming. There's also some very touching and emotional parts in this that actually made me cry. I love this book. It's short and cute and perfect for the Halloween season. Essentially, these kids, they're wearing their costumes and they accidentally, somehow, are getting morphed into becoming their actual costumes. And one of the kids has to try to figure out how to stop it, how to reverse it, and it's just such a great read. Perfectly thematic for the season, and like I said, it also has a lot of heartwarming parts in it too. In another short but heartwarming read, we have The Halloween Mouse by, the King of the Rumps, Richard Lehman. King of Rumps writing a kid's book? Yes, and it's not bad. There's no rumps in this kid's book. It's very appropriate for kids, so that's great. It's about this little mouse, and he wants to go on adventures, and he ends up in a pumpkin, but this freaking mouse is so freaking cute, and that is why it's just a nice little short, heartwarming story. It's also perfectly appropriate for fall time. Oh, look, he's getting chased by a cat. Get out of here, cat. Don't hurt him. Don't hurt the cutie. Let me show you another illustration of when he's just super cute and chilling, and he's just the cutest little mouse. Let's see. I'm trying to find a good page. Here we have a great page here. We got these kids trick-or-treating, and the mouse is like, oh, I'm hiding under this leaf, and I'm a cute as hell mouse. I'm biased because I had pet mice, so like anything mouse-related, I really love. So I had like a whole bunch of mice. So yeah, anything to do with mice, I'm like, oh. So that's a little probably biased. This is very expensive, very rare, very hard to find. I spent more on this book than I should have. Do I regret it? No, bitch, because this is so cute. And it's also heartwarming. Number 9, fall returns every year. Yes, bitch, it does. Some years the weather is not as crisp as others, but this year, luckily, we've got some cool weather right now in Louisiana, here where I live, and I'm very happy about that. But yes, fall returns every year. Name an old favorite that you'd like to return to soon. 2 books I already mentioned in this tag video, Autumn Crow and Boy's Life. Luckily, although I don't have plans to reread Autumn Crow, I might reread a story or two. I will be returning to the town of Autumn Crow because Cameron Chaney's new book, which is based in the town of Autumn Crow, which this whole collection is as well. This is a collection of stories all set in Autumn Crow. He's got another book out called Autumn Crow High, Fresh Hell, and it's the first of a series. And of course, Autumn Crow High, the high school, is set in Autumn Crow. It exists in the universe of Autumn Crow. So I will be returning to the town, but I might not be returning to this whole book. Maybe next year, though, I would love to fully return and reread this entire collection of short stories because it is just one of the best fall reads ever in my opinion. And as I mentioned, dun 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 dun, Boy's Life, I was so tempted to reread this year. I just read this for the first time last year in 2022, in July specifically of 2022. I have been putting off rereading it because I want it to really hit hard and I want it to have been a while, so I'm trying to wait like a few years before I dig back into this. But it's really hard to wait because I love this book so much and I'm dying to reread it, but I'm gonna wait because I just think it's going to be so satisfying when I do finally have the time to pick it back up and really appreciate it. I'm really excited to one day return to this, but I would love it to be next year as soon as possible, but I might even wait longer, we'll see. But this is definitely a book worth rereading many times, I think, over my lifetime, and I look forward to that experience. Next up, we have fall is the perfect time for cozy reading nights. Share your favorite cozy reading accessories. Of course, like any book lover, I really love bookmarks. I love book sleeves. Specifically, I have a book sleeve I love from my friend Kat. I also have book sleeves I love made by my friend Kelly over at the channel Kelly Hooked on Books. Thank you so much, Kelly, for my book sleeves you gave me. I really love them, and I use them all the time, especially when I travel, which I'm traveling this week, and I will be using them. Same with Kat. You can find her at Kat's Novel Adventures. Kat, thank you so much for my pumpkin-themed book sleeve, I freaking love it. But another accessory that I always use when I'm reading, especially in fall time and beyond, is a blanket. And I own probably way too many freaking blankets. For instance, here is a Pee-wee's Playhouse blanket. You can't hear me so good because I'm behind the blanket. But this one I just bought not that long ago, and I love it. I freaking love it. It's got, like I told you guys how much I like the art style. Like, look at this. This is, like, insane, incredible. I love the art style of Pee-wee's Playhouse. So, yes, a Pee-wee's Playhouse blanket. There's Penny. There's Terry. Anyway, I'm not going to go into all the characters, but Globy, I can't speak. I love this. So I love blankets. I also have a candy corn blanket right here that you can see. I have Halloween blankets behind me. I've got a Goosebumps Haunted Mask blanket. I love a good blanket for decoration, but I also like to use them in my living room when I'm reading, especially if it's a nice, cool, and crisp night, which is my ultimate favorite type of weather night. So, alright guys, those were my answers. I hope you enjoyed it. It does say to tag some people, but between my friend Amy and my friend Andrew, Amy had just done this tag, like, today. You can find her at Amy Noel Reads. Again, you could find Andrew at It Came From The Page. Between the two of them, they tagged everybody that I would tag. Like, Amy tagged Kat, she tagged Christine, she tagged Kelly. I was like, damn it. Like, those were the peeps I was gonna tag. Because I know that Crystal's already done this, I believe, at Fiber Artsy. I would have tagged her. Andrew, of course, I can't tag him. He tagged me. So, I don't know. I think it'd be fun to see Katrina do this tag. You could find her at Katrina Brown. Again, no pressure. Katrina doesn't do tags very often, but I'd love to see her do it because it's fall themed and a lot of fun. But I'm trying to think of other people. I know Alex from the Bookubus doesn't do a lot of tags either. I don't even know if I've seen her do a tag. I can't recall, but I'd love to hear her answers as well. I think she'd have great answers. But anyway, those are the two people I guess I'm officially tagging, Katrina and Alex, the Bookubus. So guys, no pressure if you don't want to do it, but I wanted to have someone to tag since both Amy and Andrew tagged specific peeps. So anyway guys, thank you so much for hanging with me for this time. That was it for me. Till next time guys, you know what you can do. Keep on killing it. Bye guys!